Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa wala. Amma ba'd. We thank our Ustad Uthman for that powerful speech and strong reminder for all of us. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those whom He says in the Quran, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ, that we hear the statement of good, and we follow it with actions. We're not of those who just hear and become neglectful. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I'll be piggybacking a lot of the points our dear Ustad mentioned, and just making some extra additions. And first and foremost, dear brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillahi ala ni'mat al-Islam. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'mat al-Islam. So we have a lot of blessings and a lot of ni'mah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showered upon us in our lives. Lakin akbaruha wa afdaluha al-Islam. The best and the most virtuous blessing that Allah has blessed us with is this guidance of al-Islam. So this Islam has a right upon us. It's not enough that we say we believe and we just lived our own life. Right? أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that mankind will think that they will just say we believe and they will not be trialed. So going to the topic of these ideologies, these gender-based ideologies of male versus female, female versus male, red pill versus feminism, these afkar or madahib al-fikriyya, these ideologies, these modern ideologies based upon useless identities and misguidance, based upon secularism, based upon ilhad, based upon shahwa, based upon heathenism. They are far from the path of guidance. Rather, they are from the path of misguidance, evil, Satanism, and the path of Iblis. It is not from the Muslim to adhere to the path of Iblis. There's only two paths, dear brothers and sisters, in this world. There's the path to Jannah and the path to Jahannam. There's the path of the Prophet ﷺ, and there's the path of Iblis. There's the awliyaullah and there's awliya shaitan. Choose your party, and choose your party wisely. So if you just be from those who blind follow whatever the devils feed you, you will destroy yourself. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and to make us of those who are firm upon hidayah. Now our dear brother mentioned something very important. Two very important things based upon the basic shahada and the first pillar of al-Islam that we all know. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. That we bear witness that there is none worthy of worship and there is no God besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we bear witness that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is his last and final messenger. This is not enough that we just say by the tongue. Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. Right? Man qalaha khalisan. Man qalaha khalisan. The one who says it sincerely, meaning believed, act upon it, truly had it in their heart, they are the ones who shall enter paradise. It's not just a statement of a tongue. Al-iman qawlun bil-lisan wa i'tiqadun bil-qalb wa amalun bil-jawarih. Iman is a belief in the heart and a statement of the tongue, and to act upon that belief and statement. So our iman requires from us actions, requires from us belief. So first and foremost, the belief in la ilaha illallah, the true submission, the true surrendering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what makes us Muslimin. That's what gave us the title of al-Islam. Istislamu lillah, to surrender and submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are a Muslim, so you submit and you surrender to your Lord. That's the first and foremost thing. Islam is not just a name and a label. It's not Muhammad and Farah and Abu Bakr. It is Submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what Islam is. Submission to Allah alone. Obedience to Allah alone. That is what makes you a Muslim. So if any hukum comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His beloved Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, سمعنا وأطعنا إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا. That any statement, any hukum, any legislation comes from Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, it is not befitting for the mu'min or the believer to say anything except what? We hear and we obey. Ala ras. We submit. You don't need to know the hikmah behind the ruling. You don't need to know the why. Why أصلا ليس بسؤال. You cannot ask why. That's عيب. Hatta that should be the degree of submission we have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. Why? That's qalilul adab. That's disrespect. It's like going to your mother or your father and they tell you clean the dishes. Do this. Why? How dare you say why? Who are you to say why? Submit yourself. Why is a disrespectful question? And you're saying that not to your parents, but Khaliq, the creator, al-mulk, Maliki Yawmiddin, the master, the creator, the sustainer, the provider. You have the audacity with your small peanut brain to say why? Humble yourself. Humble yourself or you will be humbled on the Day of Judgment or in this world. So that attitude in itself, it needs to be changed. ثانيا وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. That you testify that Muhammad is Rasulullah. What does this mean? That you obey Him in what He ordained, what He commanded by, and what He said is halal and haram, and the guidance that He came with, you follow. You stay away. وَاجْتِنَابُ مَا نَهَى عَنْهُ وَزَجَرٍ. You stay away from what He prohibited, like it's fire. You stay away from it. And you do not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except by the way of His guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what makes us a Muslim. And we believe Him in what He has informed us of the ghaib, of the unseen. That is what is the shahada of Muhammad Rasulullah. It's not that you say I love Muhammad and you put it in your profile pic. هذا ليس بشيء لا معنى له. It has no meaning in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So your Islam comes from your submission to Allah and your following in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's important that we reiterate this point. Because if you're not truly there in this point of what we just mentioned, dear brothers and sisters, we can talk about the harms of feminism, the harms of all the isms out there. But if your fundamentals is not rock solid, there's going to be another ism that's going to come around and take you like an ocean wave. You must be ثابت. يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. The qawl thabit, the statement that is firm, is this statement we just mentioned. The shahada. That belief is what's going to keep you firm. So, when we say أشهد أن محمد رسول الله, we understand that the Prophet ﷺ هو أحسن البشر. Imam al-Mursaleen. That he is the best of human beings. Infallible, free of error. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made him from the people of Jannah from the get-go. He is the one that is worthy of being followed and admired. 100%. There is no one who comes even remotely close. That's number one. طيب. The mentality. Now I just want to go into the shubuhat. Real quick. Now the fundamental that we must understand is there's two extremes, like the brother mentioned. One extreme gives birth to another extreme, and this is sunnatun fil kawn. This is a tradition in history. One extreme will give birth to another extreme. Even within our Tarikhul Islam, within our Islamic history. Examples, for those of you who study Aqidah know this. You have the extreme of the Khawarij. Na'am. You have the extreme of those who did takfir of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Right? Who said, they're not ruling by the legislation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? The Khulafa al-Rashidun were not good enough for them. That's their extreme. And they exist today, and you could say their nasab still exists in the likes of the crazy fanatical groups, the Khawarij of today, ISIS and their offspring. طيب. Then you have the other extreme of the murji'ah, which goes on the other side. You could say their offspring of today are the liberals, the liberalists. Right? Iman is in the heart, brothers. Don't worry, خلي الحجاب. Don't worry, لا تصلي. Don't worry, brother, don't worry. Allah غفور رحيم. Go to the strip club, no problem. Amal is nothing. It has nothing to do with your iman. Your actions, it's in the heart. It's all matters in the heart. There's another extreme. You have extremes of everything. You have the extreme of the Qadariyah and the Jabariyah, right? Ones who denied Qadar altogether. And they made everything based on your action. You choose. You are the controller of your destiny. There is nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. وَالْعِيَاذَ بِاللَّهِ. What it is, this is kufr. But it's an extreme. Then you have the extreme of the Jabariyah, who said everything is based upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. We are obliged. So what I'm trying to say here is, one extreme gives birth to another extreme. But we are ummatun wasata. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. That we are a balanced people, a balanced ummah, a balanced nation. And everything that Islam came with is balanced and just in its approach. طيب. And Islam is complete in its nature. The Sharia that Allah sent upon the Prophet ﷺ, the manhaj and its methodology covers every aspect of our life. The individual life, our relationship in terms of our worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our family affairs, our affairs and how we deal with one another in business. Everything is covered in our beloved and pure Sharia that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent upon us. طيب. So the matters of how to deal with our family members, the matters of how to deal with the opposite gender is in our Quran and the Sunnah. طيب. Understand that. There is nothing except that Islam has the answer for. سواء عرفت أم لا تعرف. Whether you know or you don't know is a different affair. But the answer is there in our deen. This deen is كامل اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صح. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has completed this religion, perfected it. يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك. Allah says. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu the message has been complete. It covers all aspects. طيب. So we know that Allah says about the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. That the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has been testified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he has the best of khuluq. Now if you blind follow the heathens and the mujrimeen and the criminals and those who sold their souls, you're not going to have khuluqun azim. You're going to have khuluq. You're going to have the khuluq of the shayateen. The khuluq of the shayateen. The khuluq whereby the donkey, I can testify, has a better akhlaq than them. The hayawan has better akhlaq. The cats that you see that is urinating has some more hishod, more dignity, and goes into the corner and digs before it urinates. And tries to do it without the eyes of the people. I've seen with my own eyes stray cats, when they relieve themselves, it's on a hard surface, they're scratching the marble, they're hoping that they can cover what they left behind. It has a dignity, fitrah, a natural inclination that Allah created it with, that it has some basic shame. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Right? The one who fears, he doesn't have shame, he'll do whatever he wants. That's the motto of the society we live in. Do you. What does it mean, do you? It means do whatever you want. Whatever dark, messed up, twisted desire, logic you have, فَلَا بَأْسْ. Do it. The Muslim should be above such a thing. Above such a pathetic and low heathenist lifestyle. But unfortunately, a lot of us Muslims have adopted and blindfolded with taqleed. Whatever is fed to us through the media, through the books, through post-secondary, university education, we have inferiority. We just adapt it and we follow it. No matter how far and how dark it is. Amongst that is the red pill and the feminism. طيب. These ideologies are for people who are not upon the way of Islam. People who don't have a God, people who don't have a purpose, or who are mushrikeen, who God knows what they are upon. They have no guidance, they have no huda wa nur. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us huda wa nur. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the Yahud, Inna anzalna tawrata fiha huda wa nur. Right? Follow it. Do hukum by it. Rule by it. But they turned away from it. أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ. So I say to you, O Muslims, do you prefer the rule of the ignorant, the jahil people? Or do you prefer the rule, the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the guidance? There's some key points that I want to mention about a red pill movement. First of all, those who came with it are not from Ahlul Basira. They're not people of knowledge, they're not people of guidance, they're not people of worthy of being followed. Amongst the things that you'll find in the way that they speak, these fulans that are coming up in social media or in these blogs, there's some things. First and foremost is the denigration of women folk. They objectify, talk foul, they make women into a piece of meat. They simplify everything into a matter of shahwa and materialism. Their lens is not your lens. The way they talk about the women folk, is something that cannot be mentioned in the masjid. Nor should it come out of the tongue of a Muslim. They're vulgar and they're disgusting. So a Muslim shouldn't adopt such an ideology. The ones who have this kind of ideology, they have no akhlaq. And no, dear Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that akhlaq and mannerism is from the heaviest things on the Day of Judgment. Your manners, your akhlaq, your etiquette is from one of the greatest things that's going to be placed on the scale on the Day of Judgment. So do not underestimate that. Akhlaq is extremely important. And these people, they don't have any. Wallahi, they have none. Their own forefathers of kufr would have been ashamed of their akhlaq. That's how bad it is. طيب? So they're very degenerate. طيب. Amongst them are those who promote a disgusting culture of dating and zina. They don't have morality. They don't have a sense of zawaj or nikah. And they don't have a sense of respecting family and respecting women folk in general. So a Muslim man should never be from such people. Nor should he ever, let alone listen to them, admire them, follow them. Never. So that's the issue of the culture of zina and the normalization of sexual immorality. So they're not people who are pro-family. They see women based upon her age, her looks, her status, هذا هو بس. Who she is as a human being, who she is as a mother, who she is as a sister, لا يهم, doesn't matter. She's simply rating. Oh, she's a 1, she's a 2, she's a 3, she's a 4, she's a 5, down to a number. وَالْعِيَاذًا بِاللَّهِ. Meat. So objectification of the woman folk. طيب. They also promote the culture of picking up girls, playboys, womanizing. This is their mentality. They are not people of where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us قُلْ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. They are in the other bahar, my friend. They're in an opposite direction. They're not from those who do follow this godly commandment of lowering your gaze and protecting your private parts. And this goes for the other side as well, the feminists too. La shak. So they are not people who promote decency, promote morality. They are people of fahisha. They are people of sexual immorality. So this is another problem. Amongst some of them who are so extreme, their hatred of the women and females has gone so far that they promote celibacy, abstaining from women altogether. Like those Jahil Buddhists who are like, oh, I'm getting away from the pleasures of the world, and he'll eat some dry rice and starve himself in the tree. You know? Like that. So extreme that he'll say, I'm abstaining from women altogether. Good luck with that. Alright. طيب. And akhiran, the last negative I want to mention is a hyper-materialistic mindset. Very extremely materialistic. The value of the man is in his net worth. Oh, you're a multi-billionaire. You are the one who's put on the pedestal that everyone's going to be kissing at his feet. He could be garbage. He can be completely degenerate. He could could have like no one worthy trait he won't have. But as long as his net worth is high, he's a high value man. What the heck is what is that supposed to mean? How are you a high value man? What is that? Is this a stock market? Or are you a human being? So all of these negatives are within this ideology. So hyper-materialism, all of this stuff is the way of the shaitan. Chasing after dunya, your values and your net worth, and the girl, she has to know her value, like her age, and then you know how this guy who died, halakahullah, Kevin Samuels, he what is his mentality? Oh yeah, you're like 35, you're divorced, so you got to settle for 50K, you got to do that, blah 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 blah. What? What are you talking about, man? Ajib marra. Weird stuff. Like it's like it just doesn't even make any sense. Where do you get this from? What's the basis of this? What is that all about? So Muslim, you shouldn't be so naive to follow such characters, and random people that you see pop up online with such talks, and they come up with little quotes, and then they have little shorts and little reels, and you're like, oh yeah, man, that's a wise man. No, he's not a wise man. He's a buffoon. Shouldn't be following him. And you have someone who's far more, alf marra, malayin marra, who is much more honorable, much more dignified, and who's the best to his women folk. As he said in his final sermon, the Prophet ﷺ, that you fear your women folk, fear them, like fear how you treat them, and how he was the one who was the best to his women folk. So if you want to look to who you should follow in the regard of how you deal with the women folk, look to the Prophet ﷺ. Alright? So barakallahu feekum. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all the fitna and all the misguided ideologies, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us those who are firm upon the Quran and the Sunnah until our last day. Barakallahu feekum.